Many thanks to Job, DayZ Podcast, Taggy's Tag West, Pandemonium, and Lion Lost for making this video possible. DayZ patch 1.18 has reintroduced several flavours of the tiny but deadly Derringer Pistol while nerfing our beloved Blaze and double barrel shotgun, with the added bonus of being able to nerf the Blaze and the Magnum ourselves by sawing them off. So in this video we're going to be checking out all of these changes to see how weapons have changed in patch 1.18. The Derringer is a double shot break action pistol that was first seen in DayZ in patch 0.508 years ago. It comes in grey, pink and black steel, and instead of firing the 45 rounds like it used to, it now fires the 357 rounds, which inflict much more damage, making this the smallest deadly weapon outside of explosives. This time around, only the grey Derringer spawns on the map at pistol locations that are commonly found inside towns. The black and the pink do spawn too, but only inside clothing. So in order to get the black Derringer, you first need to come across any of these 14 pieces of clothing called the men's or the women's suits, and inside these pieces of clothing are going to be where the black Derringer spawns. Likewise with the pink Derringer, spawning only inside of these 8 dresses, with all of these clothing pieces being found in residential locations like towns. So technically it does spawn where the grey Derringer spawns. Other than that, there are no other differences between the 3 types of Derringer, but the pink Derringer does increase your drip stat by 32% due to it having a flower on the grip. While the Derringer does fire the most powerful pistol caliber rounds out there, the 357s, it does get gimped a bit by its short barrel length, doing around 11% less damage than the Magnum. Additionally, the Magnum is superior in nearly every single way compared to the Derringer, but not by a lot. For example, you can reliably hit targets at 160 meters with the Derringer, and if you're in close range, you can 2-shot most infected and unprotected players. Where the Derringers fail hard against the Magnum though is the fact that the Magnum can hold 6 rounds instead of just 2, and how the Magnum is just 2/3 of a second slower at reloading 4 extra rounds. So because of the low ammo capacity and very slow reload time of the Derringer at 6 seconds, the RPM is very poor compared to the Magnum or the sawed-off Magnum, and also fires its rounds at the exact same speed that the Magnum does, which by the way cannot be fired at the same time, so there's only one fire mode for the Derringer, single shot only. On the plus side though, this pistol is just 2 slots, cannot become jammed, and is the lightest firearm in the game at just 350 grams. Like other pistols, it fits inside the 2 chest holsters but doesn't attach to anything else such as military boots or the rope belt or anything else. And finally, as a bonus tip for the Derringer, like the Magnum, you can see into this weapon so you can see if it's loaded or not with rounds, because you can see the live rounds inside, but take note that fired rounds look exactly the same as unfired rounds. The biggest change to the Blaze in patch 1.18 is obviously that you can saw it off now with the hacksaw. However, the double shot for the Blaze has seen a major nerf when it comes to accuracy. In the previous patch, both bullets from the double shot Blaze would follow the exact same path, essentially echoing each other with only a small gap between them, allowing for double damage with no penalty. The devs have obviously seen this as being too powerful and have not only applied dispersion to the different barrels so that they follow different paths now, but also they've slashed the accuracy of the Blaze by 50% during a double shot. So anytime you have the double shot fire mode selected, your accuracy is reduced by 50% in 1.18 compared to using a single shot. As an FYI, this 50% reduction is applied even if you're only firing 1 round, so the fire mode dictates the reduction, not how many rounds that you're firing. Fortunately, at close range this makes very little difference, so I'd say it's safe to use the double shot up to around 300 meters still, but previously in 1.17 it was 430 meters. However, when you attach the accuracy increasing hunting optic, you can reliably hit targets up to around 600 meters with a double shot. For this reason, I'd recommend going with the single shot fire mode for long distances, 500 meters plus to be safe, and the powerful double shot for anything less than 500 meters, if you have the optic of course. It's not all bad for the Blaze though. It did see a buff this patch, reducing sway by 16.67%, which isn't really going to be noticeable, but a buff's a buff. The only other weapon that can double shot in DayZ is the aptly named double barrel shotgun, which also got the exact same nerf that the Blaze got, a 50% reduction in accuracy when it uses the double shot. The effective range of the double barrel shotgun in 1.17 was around 80 meters with slugs, but with the double shot now it's going to be around 50 meters max. This doesn't make much of a difference though, because with the double barrel you don't want to be shooting past 30 meters anyway because of the ridiculous damage drop off that comes with this weapon. When it comes to the buckshot, the spread isn't increased, only where the spread centers from is increased. Finally, for the double shot nerf, the sawed off double barrel and the sawed off Blaze have less accuracy differences between the single shot and the double shot. The single shot to double shot on the normal weapons is 50% like I said, but when you're doing with sawed off weapons, the accuracy difference is only around 16%. The sawed-off blaze is, as you might expect, much worse than the blaze in every single stat that matters. Nonetheless though, we're going to break it down. The sawed-off version of the blaze has 28% less damage and can kill only up to 25 meters compared to the regular blaze that can kill up to 360 meters away. The effective range differences are difficult to determine because the sawed-off loses its iron sights, meaning at close range you need to aim down slightly for the bullet to hit where you want it to hit, but as it still zeros to 200 meters, it can potentially still hit targets reliably up to 260 meters. It also still allows the hunting optic, which boosts the effective range of this weapon up to around 500 meters and makes it much easier to aim with. Other than all of that, and not being able to attach the ghillie wrap, the blaze is pretty much the same, apart from some minor stats like being 10 slots in size, 30 meters shorter than the regular blaze, and weighing only 10% less. The other most comparative weapon to the sawed-off blaze is the longhorn, which does slightly more damage, but because the sawed-off has twice the ammo capacity, it makes it much better at killing stuff, and also 500 meters of accuracy is pretty impressive for a sawed-off weapon. The second weapon that got the ability to be sawed off in this patch is the Magnum. First though, the regular Magnum got a buff this patch to its recoil, which is now 25% less than last patch. I'm guessing this has been introduced because the sawed-off Magnum has 50% more recoil than the regular version, which isn't the case for the sawed-off blaze. Both the sawed-off blaze and the regular blaze have the exact same recoil, unlike the BK-18 and unlike the Mosin Wind sword, so that could just be a bug. The recoil differences of the Magnums don't really mean much though, because the recoil is very manageable with the slow rate of fire of the Magnums. The sawed-off version of the Magnum has 11% less damage than the Magnum, which means you're not going to be able to one-shot KO like the Magnum can, but in almost all other regards the sawed-off version is pretty much the same as the Magnum. It just has reduced accuracy. At around 130 meters it can still hit targets. When sawing it off, you can reduce the slots down to 4 instead of 8, you can make it 10 centimeters smaller in length, and it can weigh 40% less, but losing the damage and the accuracy makes it not worth these stats at all, which is the case for most sawed-off weapons in DayZ. The sound of both the Russian and American grenades can now be heard by players up to 600 meters away instead of 450 meters, and they can also be heard by infected further away too, from 125 meters to 150 meters in this patch. Infected have a chance to drop the RDG-5 grenade, which is the Russian variant of the grenade. Although this drop is very rare, it won't detonate if you shoot the infected too many times. Grenades can no longer cause bleeding of any kind to players in this patch, even with no protection, and the new explosive rounds used by the grenade launcher also don't cause bleeding. As a final random change for weapons, the BK-18 and the sawn-off BK-18 can no longer become jammed. The other weapon changes come in the form of the new grenade launcher, which is an incredibly powerful weapon that you must learn about in this patch. It's going to destroy squads, but there's so much to cover on that topic, so I've made a video for you here. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think of these changes and have a good day.